Yeah. Okay. There we go. Yeah, I reset everything. So
Cool.
okay. All right. In three, two, one. Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of the Back to the TARDIS podcast, the podcast where we take a look at every single episode of the 2005 revival of BBC's Doctor Who. I'm Jeff.
I'm Skylar.
And I'm an online Maoist who hates sex.
And today we are discussing the 2007 Christmas special, Voyage of the Damned, and the 2007 Children in Need special, Time Crash. We're actually going to talk about Time Crash first, because it happened first, and it's shorter. Time Crash is just a fun, fluffy little episode featuring Ten briefly interacting with his fifth incarnation as played by Peter Davison. I will say there's this interesting thing about Time Crash, which is the how 5 is portrayed here is honest, like, in some ways kind of different to how 5 was on TV. Like, Peter Davison, before Matt Smith was cast as 11, Peter Davison was the youngest actor to ever be cast for the role at 26, I believe. And he always was of the opinion that he was cast too young and he didn't quite have the presence that he felt like he needed. And he definitely does here, I think. And I think he does in Big Finish. And he manages to do it by, like, the very end of his tenure after he already decided he was going to leave. But yeah, it's very interesting. Oh yeah, also this is written by Stephen Moffat. And there's a whole thing at the end where, like, Ten's like, well, like, you were my doctor, my favorite. That is not Ten talking or David Tennant talking. That is because David Tennant was, like, a Tom Baker fanboy. And that was who he grew up with. That is Stephen Moffat talking.
Bit of a writer self-insert there.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it's Stephen Moffat.
Yeah, I mean, actually, at least it makes sense because he has the shoes and he has the squeaky voice and the glasses. So I was like, you know, works for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that. Okay, you can tell it's a Moffat thing because Ten is
You can
written
tell from the dialogue, yeah.
because 10 is written a bit more like 11 in that scene, just like he is in
Yeah.
Family of Blood. You can tell it's it's obviously still 10, but he's written with a bit more of that like 11.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I get that. You get the sense that he's warming up.
Yeah, it's a very useful episode because it self-explains why this would be happening now, aside from it being a fun thing. It's like time has just been reset with the whole, like, paradox machine thing, so I can understand how the TARDIS would be, like, a little vulnerable to, like, time fuckery. And then right afterward, he collides with a ship that, like, actually pierces into the inside, which wouldn't happen
Yeah.
unless there was some other fuckery going on. So it actually kind of connects the two in a way that, like, doesn't seem as random or as because plot. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of consider this mandatory viewing. Obviously, you don't have to, but it makes some
It's
things
just
make
fun,
a little
man.
bit more sense. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't think there's really much to get in with on the plot because it's not like the Children in Need special that was like the first look at 10. Like, this is pure fluff. It's just fun, and I figured it was worth mentioning just for that little bit of Peter Davison. who I admit was never like one I thought very highly of, but I do think he's very good in this. Um, so yeah, unless anyone has anything else, I can move on to Voyage of the Damned. Okay. So yeah, moving on now to Voyage of the Damned, written by one King, Russell T Davies. Um, I'm gonna set forward that I think the theme of this week's episode is surprising levels of, or like astonishing levels of improvement, because the last two Christmas specials I either didn't particularly like or had the thing of like, oh well, okay, it's fine for a Christmas special. This episode fucking slaps.
It is so good. Like I was genuinely astounded as I was watching. I was like, wait, like you saw in the group chat like about 20 minutes into the episode, I was just like, wait, is this actually a good Christmas special? Like, is this a good episode? What?
It's
What?
the only one. The only one.
Yeah, no, I was literally thinking about asking that. Like, I was having a piss earlier, and I was like, is that the only one? Like, I was trying to think through my
Actually,
head. I was
wait,
like,
no. Okay, it's one of two, but that's divisive because I'm one of those weirdos who likes wedding. No, sorry, not wedding. Husbands of River Song. I really like Husbands of River Song.
Yeah, I like it
All
from
of the other
memory,
ones
too.
I don't care about. It's just those two. Um.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we start with the whole like, haha, ship's hull crashes through the TARDIS, and he goes like, what? And then I love how the way they get out of that asshole is he goes to the console, and then the wall repairs itself like the Aperture Science panels in Portal 2. And then he steps out, and you know it's people in like Titanic era dress enjoying, partying and such that, and it's set on the spaceship Titanic. Christmas special opening credits. Immediately after that, we're introduced to Midshipman Frame. And also, I have to say, for someone who only shows up in the last 5 minutes of the episode for reals, Max Capricorn is John Lumick levels of ridiculous, like hilarious, like he's never going to leave my brain now. He's never ever going to leave my brain. Like John
I mean,
Lumick.
he is genuinely one that I remembered very well, just because I remember.
I just
that,
remembered that he looked weird. I didn't remember anything that came out of his mouth, which is stupid because fucking everything that comes out of his mouth is hilarious, like stupid gold.
His fucking tooth, like
Ding.
cherry on top.
Yeah. So yeah, the Doctor comes back out of the TARDIS and he's wearing the same tux that he was wearing in the Cyberman two-parter, which is, oh my god, wait, what if the tux is a signifier of batshit meme villain?
It's very possible.
What if that's it? Anyways, so yeah, and there's these robotic angelic hosts. And the Doctor's, talks to them, gets exposition. One of them gets pulled off because it's a glitch. We'll get to the hosts later. They're just kind of robots now. Once they get on later, I feel like in general, this episode is weirdly like absolutely stupid hilarious and crazy mood whiplash, like super dark. Like, it is honestly amazing how much like RTD, like black comedy or like sudden shifts to like Jesusness there is in this otherwise goofy meme episode. Um. So yes, then we are introduced to our companion for this episode, Astrid Peth, played by one pop star, Kylie Minogue, which is, I think, one of the maybe one of the first pieces of like major stunt casting from Modern Who. But like, I don't care because she's good, like good enough that I'm actually like mildly peeved that the episode sets her up so much only to kill her off at the end. And I understand because it would probably be prohibitively expensive to get Kylie Minogue for a season, but
I mean, this in general was when Doctor Who was starting to like. It wasn't like as big as it would get like once 11 was here, but the fact that you have like Catherine Tate back is like that's also like another pretty big step forward in that direction of like rocketing up towards like superstardom.
yeah. But yeah, no, like she has like surprising, like I read a review, a contemporary review from the time when the episode was released, that like shit all over the episode, was like, oh, this sucks, like it's just reused cliches and over the top RTD, and Kylie Minogue isn't great and has no chemistry. And I'm like, did we watch the same episode? Are you just being like super like boring classic stands again? Because I swear to God,
Astrid and 10 have more chemistry than Rose and 10.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
which
that's
isn't
true.
hard, but
That's
still.
fucking true. Holy shit. David Tennant has more chemistry with Kylie Minogue than he does with Billie Piper.
And that's frankly impressive considering that getting like pop star guests as actors is like a really fucking dicey game.
Wait, holy shit, Billie Piper used to be a pop star too. Holy shit.
Yeah, exactly. So
I can't believe all the times that they've had one on, it's worked out really well. Damn. Anyways. So yeah, I will say this scene is great because it sets up like the fact that there is a very obvious major like class wealth disparity between the ship guests and the ship servant, and even like someone the two characters that we're introduced to who won a lottery, who are like two of the best characters in the entire episode. And I love that like 10 immediately goes to sit with them because he realizes that everyone else on the ship other than him, Astrid, and these two people fucking suck. It's great.
yep, all these elite, not humans, but humans.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it is.
I
It
mean,
is
yeah,
awesome.
I was basically saying in the chat, it's like, damn, this story only works when you have aliens, but also we don't have the budget to make room full of people look like aliens, so, guess they
Yeah,
just look like humans.
you just roll with it. You
Yeah,
just
the old
roll
Star
with
Trek
it.
comparison was really apt.
Yeah. What I said in the group chat was basically, Star Trek basically has aliens are just humans with a slight facial modification. Doctor Who is just nah. They just look like
Yeah. So yeah, then you meet. And also, Mr. Coppers is good too, but yeah, you get kind of like the sense like, ooh, stuff's going wrong here, but that's mainly just ignored. So I will say, actually, real quick, I have so many thoughts on this episode, but one of the things that I realized is this episode is fucking long. This episode is almost an hour and a half long. It is surprisingly like lengthy. Like it is the longest single episode that we have covered so far. And I think
and
that's good because
Agreed.
it helps pace it really well. Like it's almost a two-parter, but not quite, and that's fine because it means that it's as long as it needs to be. Like there is enough time to introduce all of the major characters and have them interact first before shit hits the fan.
Yeah, this is the most well-paced Christmas episode we've covered so
Yeah,
far. It's not perfect. I'd say it dragged a little bit towards the end, but even then, like, only slightly. I was
and it's
invested the entire time.
it's the only one that doesn't have a part in it where they go, "Oh shit, this is a Christmas episode," and like throw in robot Santas. It is the only one so far. This is a better like in terms of just being Christmas themed. This is a better Christmas themed episode than either of the last two episodes, which are more explicit in their Christmassy elements. Um, let's see here. So yes, we are introduced to the Earthologist, Mr. Copper, and the spiky person, Banacafalata, who just again, just another RTD. Like every time, like I swear to God, RTD's like specialty is just like knocking like characters out of the park. Because except for the rich asshole guy who you're not supposed to like, all of these characters are likable and memorable. Like, I admittedly he is a like 3 foot tall red spiky dude with the name Banacafalata, but I remembered Banacafalata and I barely remember shit about this episode before I rewatched it. Because I only watched it like once before this.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in about like 5 or 6 years or something, and
Yeah.
literally just in the opening scenes where he's wandering around like the main room, like I was like, oh, that person's like a major character, that person's a major character, that person's a major character, just like from memory. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, look, there's all the characters, and it wasn't like they were focused on, besides the couple, like they all just like briefly passed by the screen, but like that like on its own was enough for me to be like, oh, I remember that character. So like that's a
Yeah.
testament. Like, yeah, these
Also,
characters
Yeah,
stick with me.
definitely.
on you're not putting makeup on someone like that if they're just a background character, not in an episode like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um So yeah, I love how they justify being able to teleport these people into just an empty area and like not have to pay any extras and have it just be completely deserted, by just being like, yeah, it's Christmas time. The last two Christmases, bad shit happened, so everyone has just gotten the fuck out of town or is staying home. That's great. I love that. It's
Yeah.
that it's it's that little like there's this sense of continuity that the RTD era and only the RTD era has, where there's this sense of like each season represented a year in real time, though technically after Aliens of London everything was technically a year ahead because of that skip. But other than that, basically everything was in the same time frame happening about within a year of each other, and there's callbacks and there's a sense that like stuff has continuity and is remembered and exists in the world that Moffat didn't have and Chibnall so far has not had. That's just, I think, a really nice thing. Also, we are introduced to the ultimate Chad peak performance best character in the history of Doctor Who, Wilf. Now technically this wasn't supposed to be Wilf, and Wilf wasn't supposed to be a character, except for the fact that the actor playing Donna's dad died partway through filming for the season, so they did like reshoots and just called Bernard Cribbins back and wrote him in as Donna's grandfather and did reshoots and stuff. But goddamn, is he great?
Oh yeah. I love the fact that like even if we had never seen him again, he still plays this like tertiary, like quaternary role with so much
Yeah.
character and flavor that it's like I would still
Even if
remember
we
this
had
guy.
never seen him again, I would have remembered him.
Exactly.
And I mean,
He just
admittedly,
really
that is
sells the bit.
yeah, yeah, that is because admittedly, Bernard Cribbins is like one of the most like respected actors that you could have gotten, and knows his shit. But like, goddamn, is he good?
Yeah. I'll forgive him being a royalist. Just you, Wilf. Just you.
He's our exception. He's our token monarchist that we're okay with.
Yeah. And then they get teleported back early, because there was power fluctuations and such. And you get, I will say, how this episode builds, like, again, I like the fact that this episode is nearly an hour and a half long because it gives the plot 15-20 minutes to just kind of meander around and be, like, fun stuff before having to move into the disaster movie part of the episode. And it also makes that shift feel a lot more natural because there's build-up to it. It's not like, oh, like, mall Santas attack the Tylers with, like, a spinning Christmas tree and, like, flamethrower, like, brass instruments and stuff, and then a big fuck-off spaceship appears. It's, no, the Doctor's just hanging out, doing fun Christmassy stuff, while all the while you get the sense that things are not going right on the ship, and it's entirely possible that there is sabotage going on.
Yeah, it starts
not the
building
Beastie
like
Boys
the
song.
very first scene we get of the bridge and like the captain. It starts setting that up when he's trying to dismiss everyone, and only the midshipman stays. Like that's when it starts, and it can afford to do that type of slow build and just be like mainly a character piece until all goes to shit. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So oh, okay. I was misinformed. This episode does also have a original song. The song that the singer is singing when they get back from the teleport to Earth, the stowaway. Murray Gold wrote that. Why is all the original songs that he writes that are like vocal tracks in the fucking Christmas episodes? Because there was one last year too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Um. So yeah, and then you get this buildup of like a meteoroid storm coming in, and you get the sense that the everything had been set up so the ship was intentionally planning to get hit by the meteoroid storm.
Yeah, the way it builds up to that is like really smooth. It does a really
Yeah.
good job of like making the character like motivation of the captain and as well as like the reactions of the other people believable. Because like you have the crewman and he's just like, oh, what you doing there? You're turning off the shields and
Yeah, why are you doing that one, huh?
the asteroids are coming. It's like, nah, don't worry about it. It's just a bit of it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And he's like, oh, okay, they're getting kind of close there.
And the actor for the captain is so good, and I didn't realize it until this time. He's also like a pretty well established British actor. Like
Oh, is he? Who is he?
Yeah, like, and I know this because I used to watch this sitcom with my grandparents, this British sitcom called As Time Goes By, and he's like the main guy in that, and that went on for like more than 10 years, I think. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
so it was a while. So yeah, just getting talent in like small crucial roles like that, it's more expensive, but it just adds to the flavor of like pretty much any episode if you do that too. Just getting talent like that, and yeah, this episode does a good job with it.
Yeah, definitely. Um And then, you know, the little things of like whoever set up the sabotage paid his family, and he's like, I'm already dying. Um yeah, it's great. Um and then obviously the asteroids or meteorites hit the ship, and all hell breaks loose. And we get this nice setup where it's 10 trying to get this motley crew of Astrid, the married couple, the rich asshole guy, and Banacafaletta out alive. And we were immediately started in like how like fucking brutal and unrelentless this episode is, when the chief steward, after being like, it's okay, all right, I'll just check in this one thing, immediately gets sucked out into space and dies.
It's like
Like I swear, half the deaths in this episode are so shockingly sudden that you're just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there's a whole montage of like when the crash first happens where it's just like body count after body count, and I'm like, Jesus, RTD.
Yeah.
like there's flames and everyone's burning and falling out and dying.
Literally everyone except for 4 people die. 4 people survive this episode.
Damn.
The doctor, the rich asshole guy, Mr. Copper, and Midshipman Frame. They're the only people who live. Well, I mean, obviously Wolf lives, but like anyone out of the people who were on the ship, only 4 people live. That is crazy. That is like a like ridiculously high body count, even for Doctor Who.
Yeah. And usually you have a companion in a type of episode where like almost all the cast dies, but even here, like the one person who serves that role also gets fucking murked. So yeah. Brutal.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Rixton Slade. Yeah, that's right. Sorry. That's the rich asshole guy. And then we are introduced to the hosts going haywire, which is now when I can start talking about the hosts of, like, I swear, RTD's, like, with between, like, the Ood and, like, these is, like, really good at, like, black comedy, like, thing that is meant to serve going haywire and killing. Like, they just, information to kill, and then they start taking the fucking halos off their heads and throwing them as, like, deadly sharp discus.
I'm pretty sure they reused...
Stupid.
I'm pretty sure they reused that, like, slicing sound effect from the Toclafane with, like,
Yes, oh my god, you're right, they did.
They might have, yeah.
Because, like, when we hear it in, like, the kitchen staff all being killed off, I was just like, that's the same type of black comedy gag, but this time it's, like, more played straight in for horror, but I was just, like, pretty sure that's the same sound effect. Don't care, because they're fucking terrifying.
What does this show have about kitchen staff on, like, classic on, like, Edwardian pop culture throwback? Because the kitchen staff on the fucking Mummy on the Orient Express get airlocked. What does this show have against that shit, man?
Insert classism commentary here.
Yeah. It's actually kind of it's honestly kind of interesting too how, like, now that I've rewatched this episode, like how much less, like how much more Mummy on the Orient Express manages to stand up purely on the fact that it is an interesting plot and has good acting, because otherwise aesthetically it is basically just a ripoff of this. And I didn't think about that before. So yeah, and then we set up the Doctor talking back and forth with the impressively hardy Midshipman Frame, who I do not believe gets treated for the bullet wound to the gut that he suffers the entire episode, and he lives fine. He's fine by the end of the episode.
Yeah, that was
No,
sort of
it's
weird.
So
Like,
the
I
Time
just
Lord
sort
should
of,
figure out how the hell he got his goddamn healing factor, because Jesus Christ.
no, it's
yeah,
fine. It's these are human aliens, but the only difference between them is that they can survive one
5
bullet
gunshot
wound
wounds to
more.
the gut.
Yeah, that's the only benefit. It's like Klingons with their like redundant organ systems. Like that's the only internal change.
Yeah. Um, let's see here. Um, so yeah, you get the setup of like, well, we have to make sure the engines are still running because if they turn off, we'll fall into the planet. And they start heading out, and just little dialogue like okay, look, can I just call you Banna? It's going to save a lot of time. And he's like, no, Banna Actually, sorry, I forgot to say Banna Cafaletta is always just referred to as Banna Cafaletta, which I believe means that Banna Cafaletta either does not have pronouns or Banna Cafaletta's name is Banna Cafaletta's pronoun. Either way, I'm counting that as based RTD.
hmm,
What do you guys think?
I buy that.
Um, Chad neopronoun Banacafalata. Yeah, I stand.
Hell yeah. Immediately followed by the doctor basically telling the rich asshole to shut the fuck up.
Oh, that
God,
was a nice little bit.
I also
this
stand.
episode is so good. Why did I sleep on this episode before? Like, that's weird. This episode has such a reputation for being like not great, and it's like astonishingly good. Like,
Also, to
admittedly, some of that might be because I have just that built up like knowledge of its reputation, but I swear this
yeah,
episode fucking slaps.
to jump ahead, I also like for the rich asshole guy that he doesn't really change. Like in a lot of stories, the stereotypical trope thing would be like, "Oh, I've gone through this like life harrowing experience. Maybe I shouldn't just care about myself and money because that got
No,
me
he's
nowhere
just
in the
like
end."
money.
Yeah, no, it sucked, but it's like it sucked in a good way.
Yeah. No, it is surprisingly dark that like 4 people live and one of them's the rich asshole. Because like normally the rich asshole is the one that gets killed off, but nope.
And I think that works really
Sheer
well with the
luck
ultimate
he
point.
manages to survive.
I think that works really well with the like ultimate point of like the doctor doesn't get to choose who lives and dies, which
Yeah.
then ties into a later episode in this season.
Yeah.
So it's a good little like genuinely the like themes of this episode, like the doctor not being all powerful, lead really well into like a lot
And
of later episodes in the season.
yeah. And promising I will save all of you and failing miserably.
Like, yeah, he really fails.
More
at this.
than half of the people he swore to save die.
Yeah, it's brutal. I think this is all. I think this is the moment where 10 is starting to really get like beat up. Obviously, not as much
Yeah.
like losing Donna sucks. The whole Time Lord Victorious thing sucks. But I would wager it starts to get to him, like really get to him.
Yeah.
Right here.
One two punch of Rose and the Master literally choosing death in front of him just to spite him.
Yeah, and then he loses his like new friend companion Martha for understandable reasons. And it's like
Because
when
he
he
was
meets
being a
Astrid,
shitheel.
yeah, when he meets Astrid, it's almost like oh, I can still salvage this. I can still like,
Yeah.
you know,
I got
continue
this.
on. But like, no.
Yeah. Um. Oh yeah. So there's also this great scene where Morven and Foon, the married couple, um, are having talking about the fact that she basically spent most of their money on the tickets anyway. Like it probably still was cheaper than what actual tickets would have been, but she still spent a lot of money on them. And like they don't fight about it. They just both like he just laughs and is just like I love you. And that's so good. That's so sweet. Like, bruh. Like I honestly like their deaths hit me the hardest because they are just like the sweetest, nicest people in the entire episode. And they both get fucked over.
BRB writing a Voyage of the Damned Fix-It fic.
You do it. Do it, man.
This episode is really like capitalism fucks them all up.
Yeah. In the end, capitalism killed them all. Let's see here. It's revealed that Banaka Falata is a cyborg.
And also the cyborgs are oppressed in their society.
Yeah, did you notice the throwaway line of "you can even get married"?
Yeah.
Gee, I wonder what that's commentary on.
Wouldn't be able to tell you. Honestly, though, that's
RTD. This is the hardest I've cried based RTD since like series 1.
Oh yeah. That's one of my one of my only nitpicks is the fact that like there's this whole thing of like, oh, Banacafalata can become more accepted now, except Capricorn just kind of says like, actually, nah, that's not the case. I'm being fucked over because of it. And I'm just like, well, okay, is it? Yeah, and yeah, I think in general the world building is simultaneously like the most interesting and like least fleshed out that it could be, but that's obviously because everything else is like taking center stage, and I enjoy that. It was just one of the few things that I was just like, okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, okay. So oh yeah, also like I forgot like I'm seeing like this touching scene of like this like super like touching scene where Astrid's talking to Banny Cafaletta, and then he just pulls out like the marry you line, and I literally popped off my chair and was like, whoa.
Yeah, that was some confidence.
Like that's the kind of shit that like I'm used to seeing in like the fucking like anime games I play and like hate myself for playing. I was like, whoa, I did not expect that. Yeah, then then the kitchen staff all get horribly murdered. They accidentally, there's this great bit of tension where they've been working on rebuilding a host because they didn't know that it's like potentially that it's trying to kill them, which is great because then there's that little bit of tension where it's like, oh no, is someone gonna get fucked for that? Oh yeah, then we get to the actually wait, did we get to it yet? No. Okay, never mind. Midshipman Frame has to lock himself in the bridge with a deadlock. But 10 manages to use a override command to figure out where they're getting orders from. Deck 31. Which is this weird, mysterious deck. Oh yeah, also I love I love how they have like he has the big speech of like who he is, and then like everyone's just like, oh, okay, sure.
They're like, all right, bud, because they have no idea what the fuck he's talking about.
Yeah, Astrid doesn't even like get it right when she brings it up later.
Time King of something.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of iconic things that kind of carry over, not like all the way to present day, of course, but like the whole I'm the doctor thing comes up again. Wilf. Um, there's something else I'm thinking. Oh, Alonzo. If like
Yeah.
briefly, like this is a staple of modern Doctor Who, I think, this episode.
Yeah, definitely. Um you get the backstory that Mr. Copper was a traveling salesman um who just kind of like bullshitted his way in, which explains why like I forgot to mention, Avery, do you want to take the floor on like all like the weird like bastardizations of like Earth culture that Mr. Copper tries to say? Because they're all great.
Oh yeah. Let me find that part in the script. There, yeah. Okay, so I'll just read through the whole thing. I am Mr. Copper, the ship's historian, and I shall be taking you to the old London town in the country of UK, which is ruled over by good King Wenceslas. Now,
Wenceslas, yeah.
Wenceslas. Human beings worship the great god Santa, a creature with fearsome claws, and his wife Mary. And every Christmas Eve, the people of UK go to war with the country of Turkey, and then they eat the turkey people for Christmas dinner like savages.
It's so great. It's so great. I love it.
And it's like,
He's fucking hilarious.
it is really good because it just genuinely reminds me a lot of like what misinformed anthropologists say about cultures a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it really puts shit into perspective when you think about it. Like, what if that's what like actual aliens think about us? It's fucking hilarious. Um So yeah, then they get to the big set piece, which is like this huge chasm. Which, okay, I will admit, some of the contemporary review that I read was like, "Oh, this is such a tired and obvious trope," and I'm like, "Okay, fuck you. This episode's intentionally stupid, anyways." But I will admit it is a little bit contrived. Immediately followed by Morven suddenly like part of the railing breaking off and Morven falling to his death out of nowhere. Like, I actually like straight up yelled like Jesus Christ and like cringed at my screen. Like it just happens.
Yeah, that one
It
was
is
brutal.
wild. Um let's see here. Uh Also the one of the best lines where like the doctor's like trying to convince Poon like, come on, you need to keep going, like what would he want? And she's like, he doesn't want anything, he's dead. Which is legitimately like one of the simultaneously like funniest, truest, and most heartbreaking lines ever committed to public memory. That is so good. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I feel so bad for that couple. Like,
Yeah.
and Astrid too, obviously, because she's like supposed to be the companion role, but like that couple,
Yeah,
damn.
they get the worst. Like everyone else is like pretty chill about going out on their own terms except those two. Um then Banicafaletta sets off an EMP, which literally like 3 characters die in this one room. Half the cast, like they kill like half the cast in this one fucking room.
Also, this is a side point, but the CGI with like the engine below them, like it actually
Yeah,
looks really
yeah,
decent, like
it's
really good.
surprisingly good for yeah.
Yeah, it was like, I wouldn't say seamless, but it wasn't. It definitely wasn't like Series 1 effects where it was just like, okay, I appreciate it, but no. Like
Yeah.
this was,
Yeah.
it's a good set piece. I believed it. It was a good set, and yeah, fucking half the cast dies, and you're just like, shit.
Yeah.
What now?
Can we get an F in chat and a moment of silence for Morven and Foon? F. So yeah, then they move on. They split up. The Doctor goes to deck 31, and he sends Astrid and Mr. Copper and Rixton up to reception, to try and figure out how to transfer an SOS. I can't believe he trusts Rixton with the sonic screwdriver. Like, bruh.
Yeah, that was a moment.
Like, why didn't you give that one to Astrid, bro? I mean, like, I understand she has to have the EMP thingy, but still.
He will open doors purely out of his self-interest. The Doctor's like,
Yeah.
what's the device I can give him that he'll have the least likelihood of fucking up with?
I will say the very brief scene where she makes out with him is absolutely contrived and cliche and just kind of there. But at the same time, they hired Kylie Minogue. They might as well. Whatever, man.
Also, using the thing as like a footstool, like that.
Yeah,
at least
getting
made
the
it...
box because like David Tennant is like a head and a half taller than her.
Yeah,
That was a great
I was
little
like,
moment.
you might as well.
So yeah, then the Doctor uses the security protocol that gives him 3 questions. There's this great comedy in the scene where he keeps accidentally asking questions. He's like, wait, no, fuck, shit.
Yeah, that was great.
Like, God, like, yeah, I admit it's kind of cliche, but it's good. So, like, shut the fuck up. I don't care about cliches if they're good. Cliche in itself is not a bad word.
Exactly.
Also,
it's very old sci-fi, or maybe not old sci-fi, but the whole thing of like being able to outsmart technology if you're like really clever, and are able to like work around it. So the fact that he's able to get all of that information and get to Max just by like being very reasonable and rational and logical, like with the robots, and saying like, you have to do this, where they like have no other choice. That was really cool.
yeah, that's great. So yeah, Astrid does her own teleport back in to help the dog, which again, it's a Rose move, but weirdly enough, I like it. Normally, I mean, probably because she only does it the once, whereas Rose does it like at least like 7 to 10 times. And then we are the Doctor is taken to deck 31, and we are shown the ultimate authority of the hosts, and Mr. fucking Max Capricorn wheels himself into the room.
There are no words.
I just the fact that the actor who plays him is able to pull so much out of just being a head in a jar is fucking amazing.
Props to the makeup and like prop department for like seamlessly integrating his head into like a machinery box with a whole bunch of like stupid doohickeys and wheels. Like,
yeah, you can very clearly see like, oh, okay, this is very clearly like a latex sort of shirt thing. But if you're not like really paying attention and trying to figure that out, it's not. Yeah.
It's a pretty good effect.
It's, yeah. And just this entire back and forth, where he's just doing this as an insurance scam to fuck over his board. And then there's the line of like, I will retire to the beaches of Penhexico too, where the ladies, I'm so told, are very fond of metal. Just the way he delivers the word metal is the stupidest fucking.
I rewatched that scene and he looks down before he says metal. Like, it's a very subtle thing.
Like, what the fuck? I swear, like...
Transhumanism is a hell of a drug.
Yeah. This is... Avery, whenever, like, are you just gonna, like, post pictures of Max Capricorn if you, like, get in arguments with transhumanists on Twitter now?
That's actually a good idea. I'm like, shut up and go back to your king and just post Max Capricorn.
Is this your god?
Either that or Cassandra. But yeah, no, it is great because, like, even the Doctor's like, wow, that is really petty. And then we get into, you know, like, the Stu Bagfull did a video on this where he also had this similar thing of like, wow, this episode is actually great, where he and like his friends just like watched it and he just like recorded, like posted like highlights of their watch session. But he put it out that RTD engineered this so you have the Doctor and a head in a metal box on wheels in this chasm above this engine, and then you have Kylie Minogue in a forklift coming over and lifting this fucker and like pushing him off, but the brake lines get severed, so when she drives him off she sacrifices her. And I'm just like, what the fuck is it? Is the most ridiculous shit, and I fucking ate it up, dude. It is so great.
The fucking one-liner where it's like, Max Capricorn, I resign. I was like, yes. Fuck yes.
Class
Give it to me now.
uprising.
Inject
Class
it into my eyeballs.
uprising. Oh my god. And then with Okay, one of our patrons who's listening in just posted a fucking screen cap of Max's face right before he falls. That's like a when you nut and she keeps sucking face. Oh my god. And then Astrid falls and the Doctor has like his sad face moment, and then RTD, after I guess hearing all the shit he got for Last of the Time Lords, doubles down and we get a Jesus Doctor liftoff moment like none other, where he literally snaps his fingers and is ascended upwards by angelic robots. How can you not love this episode? It's so stupid, and it knows how stupid it is.
It's like, oh, you Master Deadlocked the bridge? Watch this.
Master Deadlock this motherfucker. I'm going to break it with my head. There's
Also,
even the line of like Deadlock deactivated once he just smashes through the floor like the goddamn Kool-Aid man.
Like, also the like shot of just the raised fist, leading upwards is a based RTD, but pretty unsubtly way.
Yeah. Um let's see here. So yeah, then we get the thing where the doctor and midshipman Frame, whose name is revealed to be Alonzo, in a 2-year payoff. Basically.
Did the doctor say Alonzi in the first appearance? I can't remember.
No, what happens is in Army of Ghosts Doomsday, he comes up with the Alonzi and says that he wishes that he knew someone named Alonzo that he could say it to. So it is literally a like year and a half long build up to that.
It's funny how I remember Alonzi more from like this than when it started,
Yeah.
which make your own series 2 joke here. But yeah, it's a great moment full of cheese, but I still love it.
And then I posted a video clip of this in the Discord. We get to the moment that gave me the single biggest pop off, where it's like, oh, the ship's going to hit Buckingham Palace, and the doctor literally picks up a phone and calls Buckingham Palace, and you get a shot of someone who's supposed to be Queen Elizabeth from behind booking it down a hallway in the palace with her fucking corgi. It is... And you get Wilf like screaming at this guy like, "Don't you do it, you damn aliens!" And then you manage to get the nose up, and it just careens up and over, and you get someone impersonating the Queen going, "Thank you, Doctor. Happy Christmas." It's...
There are no words.
It's so stupid.
The way he's looking at the scanner of where it's landing to, and he's just like, of course it would fucking be there. Of fucking course.
Uh, um, so yeah, then, there is this very nice thing where the doctor like very frantically tries to save Astrid, and it doesn't work. Like, I'm putting this out here, as much as I like Moffat, if this was a Moffat episode, it would have worked.
You're saying it would have or wouldn't have?
No, I'm saying it would have worked if it was a Moffat episode.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least the ending would have been happier if it was a Moffat episode. Like, it is honestly weird to realize, like, for someone who wrote some of the scariest Doctor Who episodes, Moffat really does not like high body counts. He doesn't do that shit. Like, even in Empty Child and Blink, those technically both have a body count of 0. Or at least only from natural causes. So yeah. Then and then we get the line of like, because Rixton Slade survived, and Copper says, of all the people to survive, he's not the one you would have chosen, is he? But if you could choose, that would make you a monster. And just, man.
That was a little too on the nose for me, I gotta be honest.
I don't fucking listen, man. RTD is not subtle.
Well, no, I know that, but he could have left it at, he's not the one you would have chosen to like survive, and I think the same point still could have gotten across. It was just like
Eh.
slightly
I
pushing
think
at
outright
it.
saying it makes sense considering where they're going with it later.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's I'm my criticism isn't that they don't follow through with it, because that's definitely not fucking true. They do. It was just
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Um. So yeah, the Doctor and Mr. Copper. There's this lovely thing where, um, there's the MacGuffin setup where, or like a Chekhov's gun setup where, Mr. Copper has a credit card, um, and you learn at the end of the episode that the credit card he did basically with exchange rate from like whatever the credit thing that he uses $2, which explains that um uh one apparently like because like I guess like credits are like super like inflated or whatever, or I don't know, deflated. What I don't know what the right term would be. I'm not an economist, but basically the point is he's super fucking rich, which is great.
It also puts into
Um,
perspective the poverty of the first characters. They were gonna have to spend the rest of their lives paying off 5,000 credits when based on that conversion, that's about $1,000.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yike.
Um, and this also shows up later because I think it's mentioned that the subwave network that's used in the finale was developed by the Copper Foundation. And just like that little sense of RTD continuity, man.
Nice.
And then yeah, the Doctor goes in the TARDIS and it dematerializes, and the last thing that we see is in memory of Verity Lambert, 1935 to 2007. Um. So yeah. Uh. Anything else before we move on to ratings? All right. Yeah, this episode is such an astonishing improvement over the other Christmas specials, and even like I expected to not like this anywhere nearly as much as I did, and just goddamn, this episode, like, there's great commentary, the characters are great, it is disturbingly like dark and like brutal. The actors are all great. Stunt casting actually worked out. Um, yeah, it's just so good. I don't think I'd necessarily quite give it a perfect 10, but it is a very strong 9. Very, very strong 9. At least purely in terms of like how much I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, this episode is almost perfect. It's definitely the best Christmas special possibly ever, but definitely that we've covered so far. Um my only minor gripes is that like occasionally the writing is like really obvious, and the one actual plot hole that bugged me was that Max was saying, "Oh, I can cancel the engines from here." And it's like, "Well, how come you haven't done that until now?" But like it's one of those episodes that knows it's like pretty stupid and like cheesy and pastiche everything, so it's like I'm willing to go with
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Um
it's a pantomime.
yeah,
It's a
so
fucking pantomime.
so the fact that it's like that's my only complaint. It's like, yeah, the characters are great. Um the fucking setting is great, the tension, like everything, almost everything is on point. So yeah, 9 out of 10.
Um. So yeah. Uh, Avery?
Yeah, I'd say honestly, I agree. I think it's a very solid episode. It doesn't quite reach the like, you know, those levels of like, oh my god, this is like completely blowing my mind. But it definitely was like way past my expectations. It was an amazing episode. It's very solid. So yeah, 9 out of 10.
Yeah. All right. Uh, Next week, we will be discussing Series 4, Episode 1, Partners in Crime. Until then, though, we're going to move on to our next segment. This week, we are discussing Torchwood Series 2, Episode 1, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which, again, continuing the trend of astonishing levels of improvement. Like, I know the last Torchwood episode we watched was 2 weeks ago, but, like, just the level of quality increase between those two. Man, this episode, like I've said before, this episode is my mom's personal favorite episode of Torchwood. It's just so much fucking fun. Like,
Agreed.
my god. This is like, and the fucking weirdest thing is Chris Chibnall wrote this episode. Where the hell is that Chris Chibnall now?
Didn't he co-write it?
No, he is the sole credited writer on this episode.
Wow. Okay, you see, the thing is, I wouldn't have guessed that, but now that you say it, I totally see it. Like, I'm thinking about the episode again, and it has that sort of like lighthearted flair to it that like really denotes Chibnall.
But it actually has snappy dialogue and characters that are interesting and that you care about and actually have like character to them.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like what am I
It
trying
has
to
edge.
say? The like,
Definition.
I can't remember his name, but you know, the other time agent, like
Captain
is
John Hart.
Yeah, John Hart is what I feel like Chibnall wants all of his characters to be in like his current run of Doctor Who, where they're like really eccentric, but in a way that works. Cause like Hart is like he comes in with like the cowboy stuff. He like he beats the fuck out of someone,
And
throws
he
them off
is
a ledge.
Almost more like in your face, I will fuck anything than goddamn
Jack.
John Barrowman is.
Yeah. And you really get that sense that like the whole episode is just this like crazy fantastical trip for the whole like stretch of it.
Yeah. And
I
in
feel like that's
another
what Chibnall
sense,
wants
it's a
all of his-
lover's spat. Like he's
Yeah.
he's a jilted ex-lover.
Isn't this a Buffy actor too?
Yes, it's Spike.
God, that is so perfect. That is so perfect.
But no, just like everything, and like it just feels like every single thing I didn't like about Series 1 is atomized in this episode. Like, we start off, Torchwood is being actually capable, Owen's being actually like fun and like not obnoxious. You get the great line of, "Excuse me, have you seen a blowfish?" Right? Like, I feel like the tone setting thing for this series is the fact that it opens with a night and there's like middle of the night and there's this like old lady crossing the road and a blowfish in a sports car with the like roof down blaring hip hop is the first shot of this season.
It's so good.
And then obviously, and the thing too about like Jack comes back and they consistently give him shit for just dipping on them throughout the entire episode. Like, they don't let him go on that. Like, they're still like, "Hey, asshole, you did this."
Yeah, I enjoyed Torchwood Series 1, most of it, but I don't know, this might just be a false impression, but I have a feeling that there's a little bit more like we can have fun while still
Yeah.
being like a darker and
Yeah,
potentially
they managed,
edgier show than Doctor Who.
Yeah.
We can still have the
yeah.
fun though.
I feel like Series 1's problem, right, is it tried to almost like it couldn't decide if it wanted to be full darker and edgier Doctor Who, or with like all the fucking and the swearing and the violence, or if it wanted to be, ooh, look at us, we're like sexy and mature Doctor Who with all the fucking and people making bad decisions and like who funny stuff. And here they managed to settle on a tone where like they're allowed to have fun, but it's not cringy and it's as dark as it needs to be.
It's so good.
Oh yeah, also I forgot the fact that the blowfish is fucking high off its ass on cocaine.
I love that.
Just Torchwood things.
Yeah. Yeah, and then obviously like Captain John Hart is introduced, and I'm gonna take this moment to get on my soapbox real quick. Captain John Hart's theme is one of the coolest, best pieces of music written for Torchwood, and it is completely unreleased. It is not on the soundtrack at all.
Bruh.
Completely unreleased. But yeah, no, I just love the establishing character scene of like someone's getting mugged and he just picks the guy up and dangles him off this parking garage, and the guy's like, oh god, please stop, and he's just like, no, and drops him. Like, he doesn't even have a one-liner, he's just like, no. And then immediately he walks into a bar and is like, all right, most of you fuck off, but like anyone I think is attractive can stay. And then he gets one of everything.
When Chibnall thought to himself, what if I made Jack, but with even more Jack?
Yeah. And then obviously like Jack sees the thing. I love how in the message there's like the line of like, what can you be doing that's more important than me? And then at the end he does the little help me Obi-Wan Kenobi thing. And then
That
Jack
was such
just
a good
did.
little line.
And then I not only like this fucking scene, like not only do they play Blur in it. Now admittedly they play the one Blur song that everyone knows, but shut up, they play Blur. It is a gay bar fight set to song 2 by Blur, where they are equally beating the shit out of each other and making out profusely. Chibnall does not have the balls to put this in his Doctor Who, man. I'd love if this was in Doctor Who. It's never gonna happen, but I'd love it.
Just picturing Yaz and 13 in a bar.
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't bar fight.
I know, but I want it now. Damn it.
And like the little lines of like, well, like, okay, it's Jack, like he's fucking running off again. God damn it, I hate when he does that. And Ianto's like, it is more fun when he's around though. And everyone's like, yeah. Just like all the little lines like rehabs plural, and Jack's like drink, drugs, sex, and John's like murder, and he's like, you went to murder rehab? Just like these little zings of like what the culture is like, and like the little like just the concept of like murder rehab is like some fucking Futurama shit.
Yeah, it feels more RTD levels of zing than like I've
Yeah.
ever seen Chibnall be, and
Yeah.
I'm like, where you been, man?
Yeah,
I
it's
miss
weird.
you.
It's weird. Like, I think someone pointed out that he's a good mimic. He's very good at mimicking the style of like whatever the showrunners is, because like obviously like this feels like a very zingy RTD episode, and like this Silurian two-parters feels like it fits very well in series 5, but like yeah, it's just like, can you just keep mimicking what you're doing here, please? I'll probably hate your run a lot less. Um, I swear, I'm just gonna start like reading off some of the shit that John says, because I know we don't go through like nearly as much detail normally when we do Torchwood, but just like almost every fucking thing that comes out of his goddamn mouth is so good. Like, Jack's like, the team name's Torchwood, and he's like, oh, not Excalibur, Blizz. Like, he like starts shit talking about the name. Um, Jack's like, we go back, and John's like, we go way back. And then the thing of like, it was 2 weeks, except that was trapped in a time loop, so we were together for 5 years. It was like having the wife, and then the back and forth of like, you were the wife, no, you were the wife. And then just the delivery of, oh, but I was a good wife. And Tosh trying to get in on the banter. Side note, the other day, as some of you who follow me on Twitter might know, recently because of pandemic, I have become an avid player of one Final Fantasy XIV, and in the second expansion, Stormblood, I found out that Tosh's actress voices a character, and I managed to play the entire expansion and not notice this until the credits. And it's weird because the character is the complete opposite of Tosh. Like, I joke that, like, whenever she comes on screen, it's like, oh yeah, great, it's the evil ruler of the kingdom that wants to step on people.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Can I be
Anyways,
introduced to this person?
nah, she's an authoritarian. Then we get the the line of get two agents in the same time room together. It's always about the size of their wrist or strap. And then you get the sense that like Jack knows, like, and Jack even straight up says that he knows that John is conning him, because and he says like there's like a astronomically low percent that maybe he's actually telling the truth and has turned over a new leaf. But no, he walks into the building and is like I'm a 2-gun person, and Gwen's like lists off like 15 weapons that he has hiding along his personage.
When you can write 60% of a Torchwood episode by horny posting in the writer's room.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, actually, when I say I'd like to see more of this from Chibnall, I think I mean mainly, like, the zinginess and, like, the character.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, the level of horny that this is only fits in Torchwood.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't...
It would just be uncomfortable or unairable if it was in Doctor Who. It would be like that one fucking, like, line 11 has in Journey of the Center to the TARDIS, where it's just like, this is uncomfortably horny.
Don't want to dial that up to 13.
Yeah. And just, like, also, like, the little scenes of, like, Gwen reveals that she's gotten engaged and Jack is really happy for her, but she's got, like, she still has, like, a bone to pick with him. Like, she's still not letting go of the fact that he fucking dipped on all of them without telling them, and they had no idea where he was. And then Gwen volunteers to go with him, which is very, like, that's very Gwen, but also, like, wow, that's a stupid ball moment.
Yeah.
Jack, like, tries to explain the ground rules, and you hear like John be like, has he got to the no kissing rule yet? He only invented that because he wants me all to himself. Like, I just consistently had, like, a beaming grin on my face, like, the entire episode. Oh yeah, also Reese briefly shows up to say that he got the manager positions at Harwood. So be prepared. In a few weeks it's going to be time for Harwood's lorry posting. I hope y'all are ready.
I'm not.
I just realized the paralyzing lip gloss here. That's a
River Song.
yeah, like that gets called back in River Song, and like of the things that I expected like to come to the main series from Torchwood, that was not it. So yeah, and then he turns on all of them. But as a reprieve from all of this, we get the sweetest scene in the entire episode where like it's weird how like I think it really shows like how like much Ianto means to Jack and how much their relationship means that Captain Jack Harkness is having a meet cute. But no, this scene is great though. It's fantastic. I love it. Oh yeah, also I forgot that I forgot that John is like a straw nihilist.
Yeah, I see it.
John fucking listens. John fucking is like, have you, Jack, have you seen Rick and Morty?
I'm sorry.
But yeah, no, I love how Jack just like no sells his bullshit. Like he's like, yeah, okay, like yeah, you played me. Like Jack's like, really? You think I'd fall for that? And he's like, okay, just give me the canister. And Jack's like, oops, and tosses it and just stares at him like, what, bitch? And the best part is you have to know that John he would have known that John would have killed him there. So he did that just to spite him because he knew he'd freak him the fuck out when he... Which actually, I am just going to skip ahead to that thing where they all surround John and he's like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. I killed your boss. And then Jack walks in and he's like, what the fuck? Like it is the first time his composure breaks the entire episode.
Nani?
Yeah. and how he's the best part is like how he's like how's it work? I'm like, how much did you pay for that? And he's like, no, listen, bro, I can't die. I cannot die.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's it's a good
funny
use to keep that fresh.
Yeah. It's funny, too, because this is like, they even start realizing how to use their budget effectively because the resolution is basically just people running around in a car park. And, like, one rift effect. They managed to, like, that resolution cost them, like, I don't know, $200 to film. Like, they like, unlike last time, where they vastly overestimated, like, how much they could bite off with the budget that they had, they managed to like effortlessly do a finale with like a climax of the episode with stakes and everything that's super cheap, and they managed to make it work despite the fact that it's just in a car park in Wales. And, oh yeah, also the little thing of like the fact that like Gwen is gunning it to where the rift thing is, and John's like checking things out and he's like, oh, that's gorgeous, and Gwen's like, that's a poodle. So yeah, John leaves, but not before saying that he found Gray, and that clearly shakes Jack, and that sets up like a little bit of it sets up Actually, yeah, it sets up a mini arc. Like, it's not nearly as involved as like a Doctor Who arc, but it is a bit of an arc. Yeah. Anyways, anything before ratings that you guys want to weigh in? Because I realize like I've been like just gushing about this for like 30 minutes. So what do you guys got?
Uh, yeah, I mean, it was good. It was fun. Um, it was definitely a pleasant surprise to come from Chris Chibnall and the guy who plays John. As of course, I mean, we were talking about this in Voyage of the Damned. When you get good actors for these like quote unquote like side characters, it really adds to the episode and to the entertainment value. Um, so yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I guess moving on to ratings. As I said, um, this is my mother's favorite Torchwood episode. I'm pretty sure she's rewatched it a lot too. And honestly, I I think in terms of just like a fun one that I'd want to watch, yeah, I'd pick this one specifically. I think this is definitely a 10 out of 10. Like, I think, like, I don't know, I feel like in some ways Random Shoes is kind of the better episode, but I wouldn't just, like, watch Random Shoes. I would just watch this when I wanted to have a good time. Because this episode is just nonstop fun.
Yeah, I'd also call it a 10 out of 10. It's a different 10 out of 10 than like the really like emotional, like heart-wrenching, like highly like emotionally mentally involved pieces of like last season that we gave 10 out of 10s to, but like this is it's just entertaining. It's balls to the wall, like crazy but investing like television. I don't know how else to say it. So yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. 10 out of 10.
I'm gonna have to break with the pack here. I definitely think it was like really good. It was really good. Like, don't get me wrong. Um, I don't think it grabbed me quite as much as like some of the 10 out of 10 episodes have in both like this one and Doctor Who.
Yeah, that's
But
fair.
altogether, I think it was definitely very good. I don't think it was as engaging as the 10 out of 10, but it was definitely really good. Yeah, I'd say a 9 out.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's fair. I just think I got like, well, I'm super familiar with it. Because as I said, I've seen it more than some of the other ones, and as I
Yeah, it's
said, it
definitely
is.
possible that on like multiple viewings, I'd appreciate it
Yeah.
more like once I know what it's
Yeah.
doing.
It's just at the point where I get a 10 out of 10 enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next week, we're going to be going back to covering uh, two Torchwood episodes to make sure that this all fits, because we're not going to be doing a big 3-part finale episode, and we're also going to be doubling up in other places because there are episodes that narratively sort of go together, and we don't have an animated episode. So next week we will be discussing Series 2, Episodes 2 and 3, Sleeper and To the Last Man. Until then, you can follow the podcast on Twitter at B2TARDISPod. You can also support us on Patreon to get access to things like bonus episodes early. We just did a bonus episode on the 7th Doctor story, Remembrance of the Daleks. By the time that this episode comes out, it will probably already have been publicly released, but it is currently available. It will be currently available then, or if I manage to get this episode out earlier, if you sign up on the day, you'll get early access to it, and you'll get early access to future ones. You can also listen in to us record the podcast live, or maybe possibly even guest on an episode of your choosing. I'm Jeff. You can follow me on Twitter at WheatleyDL.
I am Astrid Peth's atomized wop. You can find me on Twitter at skyhigh9_5.
God.
can't follow that one. I'm Avery, Big Fat Penis 69.
Jesus Christ, Avery, you just got fucking outplayed.
Yeah, no, I didn't have anything that good.
Fucking hell. Oh my god.